Music Business Radio is brought to you by Avenue Bank, dedicated to serving the music business industry. Find out more online at thedifferenceisreal.com.
From Music City, USA, it's David Hooper and Music Business Radio.
From the TuneIn Broadcasting Studio in Nashville, Tennessee, this is Music Business Radio, your backstage pass to the biz. I'm your host, David Hooper, and with me today, J-Praize. He's an entrepreneur, producer, music industry consultant. He's had songs on over 20 million records, working with artists like 50 Cent and upcomer Russ P. He's also the publisher of the magazine The Music Shelf. J-Praize, welcome to Music Business Radio.
Thank you.
I mean, you have a great story about growing up, and we hear a lot of great stories, but I found yours especially interesting. You grew up in Queens.
Mm-hmm.
You're the seventh son, which is already a lot of kids.
Right.
But you're the youngest of 15.
Right, exactly.
So already, you had your team together when you came out.
Exactly.
Talk about growing up in Queens, because it sounds like that had a lot to do with your music and what you're doing now.
It was beautiful. Growing up in the 80s, it was kind of crazy. It was kind of rough. That's when the crack epidemic hit. So it was rough, but at the same time, it was definitely fun times. I mean, we didn't have a whole lot. There's 15 of us. Mother had 8 girls and 7 boys, and it was definitely rough from a financial standpoint, but we were a close family. We stayed in church. I mean, we were just very tight-knit, which you really didn't see a whole lot in Queens. Coming up, single-parent households. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it was rough, but it was good. We leaned on each other for strength. Like I said, we didn't have a whole lot. I remember going to the stores and with food stamps, wait till everybody left the stores, and then I would go and buy what I needed to buy, So I remember those days, we were on welfare and everything, but thank God now no one's on welfare. We're doing good, every one of us.
So you mentioned church. Is that where you really got a love for music? How did the music thing start?
Coming up in church, my mother, she used to sing. My father was a reverend. She was an evangelist. And they used to sing all the time, in the house, in church, in the car. When I was 6 years old, I picked up a trumpet, and I was playing the trumpet and had solos and different concerts and things of that nature. So music has just been in me, like, from the beginning.
What really inspired you to pick up the trumpet?
You know what? At that age, I just looked at the trumpet. It was one of the loudest things you could play. And
a lot of noise with 15 kids.
Yeah. So it was like, okay, you know what? Let me get this loud thing and let me play it. And that's what it was. That's it. Because at 6 years old, it's like, I
think you've really hit on something here. I used to play music myself, and people are always asking me, man, do you ever miss it? Do you ever miss it? And I said, no, because music gave me a voice. And it was great when I was a little kid. It sounds like that's what it was for you. It gave you a voice. And I think that rap music, and I want you to talk about that here in a second, about just rap music around Queens, because it was in its infancy in late 70s and early 80s when you were around the area. And it gave people a voice that may not have had the resources to even have a trumpet in some cases.
Exactly. The school gave me my trumpet. That's when they had music in the schools. And a lot of schools nowadays, they don't have the music. So at the end of the day, a lot of these guys from DJ Herc and they're older guys, basically they are the cornerstones of hip hop. Just from partying, spinning on turntables on the ones and twos. There was no MC. There was no rappers back then. It was just the DJ. So the DJ is actually the foundation of hip hop.
Talk more about that, because they'd actually talk over the records.
Right.
And eventually they'd talk over the whole record, I guess, right?
Yeah. And it's funny how things evolve, because it's like, okay, you have a guy who has 2 turntables, 2 record players. He brings his speakers out, and everyone has a block party. They have a block party. So it's like, imagine if that guy didn't do that. We probably wouldn't have hip-hop today like we have it. So it's mind-boggling when you look back on things. And these guys were just having fun. They weren't looking to get paid. A lot of times they weren't paid. They were just looking to have fun, looking to let off some frustration and be creative with what they were doing. And even back then, if you remember, a lot of people thought that what the DJ was doing as far as scratching and mixing and stuff wasn't real music. So it's like, it wasn't music to some, but it's like when you take something and you create something new and make it your own, then that's what it is.
Yeah, I think when you're creating it, it's exactly right. It's something really special to you. I remember, again, back when I was a musician, but learning how to play like guitar and stuff. If I were to go back and like listen to those tapes, I was like, I'd probably cringe. But to me, it was like really cool.
Right.
And I think that it's very cool, to be at that level of creation where it's not just about, it's more than music. It's creation, something much bigger than just the music.
Exactly.
David Hooper, Music Business Radio, talking with J-Praize. He's an entrepreneur, producer, music industry consultant. His songs have been on 20 million albums. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But it didn't start out like that, and that's what we're talking about. I mean, it's just block parties. Talk about Jam Master Jay, because he was kind of from your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Was he the first guy that was kind of like the example of what it could be?
Well, you know what? I believe so. Yeah, because if you remember Run DMC, when they first came out in the early 80s, it was like, wow, there's a duo with a DJ. And they would always big him up. They would shout him out, Jam Master Jay, Jam Master Jay. Mm-hmm. They would always give him his props. And that's what it was. Even I remember in Queens, we were real little. And they would all ride in the back blocks, what we call the back blocks, way in the back where we lived. And Jam Master Jay, he would drive his car. We would run up to the car. He would stop. And then he would speed off. We would run 2 or 3 blocks. He would stop. And then he would speed off again. And I remember him turning around and just laughing at us. But that's how we would do with Jam Master Jay. Run, DMC, LL. He never stopped. But, in Queens, you would see these rappers. And it would be like no big deal.
Yeah.
And they were cool. They were cool coming up.
Well, LL Cool J also, he used to... Cut Creator.
Yeah, Cut Creator.
Everybody knew who his DJ was. It's not like it is now. The DJ was actually the star of the show along with the front guys.
Right, exactly. And I think what happened is when the rappers stopped recognizing the DJs, then the DJs just started doing their own thing. Now you have DJ drama. Like a lot of DJs now are like celebrities themselves.
Yeah.
With no rapper at all.
How has DJ culture changed? Would that be the main way you think they've kind of stepped out and they don't even need a rapper?
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you think about it, it's like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are of a rapper. If you don't have a DJ, if you don't give that respect to the DJ is the foundation of hip hop, of what we do. But at the same time, it's a marriage. You got your DJ, you got the rapper. The DJ has to respect the rapper. The rapper has to definitely respect the DJ, because this is the guy or girl that is going to play your record, that is going to get the people familiar with you. And I think a lot of times it's like, I don't need a DJ.
How often do you see that? Because that was actually my next question to you. When you're looking for an upcoming artist, and which is a lot of what you're doing right now with J-Praize Entertainment, you're looking for new guys. Is it important for them to have that team? Or are you looking for rappers that you can hook up with DJs? Or if there's a good DJ, do you hook them up with a rapper? How does that work?
This is what I do, basically. I don't necessarily hook any rapper up with a DJ. I kind of say, okay, well, get to know them. What's your background? What DJs do you know in your area? And kind of take it from that standpoint and tell them, listen, if they don't know a DJ or are not affiliated with a DJ, I tell them, listen, you might want to go and affiliate yourself with a DJ or someone who's up and coming or what have you. I would say with my artists, what I do, I know a lot of DJs. Like I have access to DJs up and down the East Coast. Mm-hmm. So if I need to get a record to somebody, that's not a problem. As far as if I'm consulting a rapper or entertainment company, I'll let them know, listen, you need to get with a DJ.
Something I think DJs bring to the table, which people may overlook, those guys are really just like super nerds.
Yeah.
As far as music. I mean, if you go back and you listen to like early Run DMC, a lot of it was like rock records.
Right.
And if you listen to a lot of the new stuff coming out now, there's a lot of stuff in there that I think it's turning people on to new music they might not normally listen to. They have everything from rock to classical to some kind of Spanish Santana kind of stuff. It's really quite amazing, which I think that probably has influenced where hip-hop and rap music has gone more than anything. Let's take it back to the history of hip-hop and rap music. So you talked earlier about having DJs who would talk over the records.
Right.
Now, when did actually the rapping come in, where the rapper was like the superstar of the party?
I mean, I was still wetting the bed at that age, but I believe what happened was the DJ had so much going on. He has 2 record players in front of him and so many records and people coming up to him and asking and requesting this and requesting that. I believe what happened was a DJ got one of his partners and say, listen, man, I need you to help me out and to get on the mic and announce things. Mm-hmm. That's how I believe it happened. Okay. Because at the end of the day, even the MC, and that's what he was called, the MC, the massive ceremonies, no one was rapping back then. Just, yeah, DJ so-and-so, da-da-da, kind of shouting them out and giving them props. And then it evolved to like, wave your hands in the air and like getting crowd participation involved. So I think that's what actually happened.
Live music, whether it be in the club or at parties like you're talking about, has always really been an important part of people like connecting with a song and making something happen. You've got an incredible story of when you got hooked up with 50 Cent. And when we come back, I'm going to get that story. We're going to talk about exactly how you got your music to 50, what he did, and what it was like for you the first time you heard it live.
Cool.
So we're going to come back. Music Business Radio. J-Praize is my guest today. He's an entrepreneur, producer, music industry consultant. Has songs on 20 million records. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how he got working with 50 Cent. That's next on Music Business Radio.
This is Alan Shacklock, record producer to Roger Daltrey, Andrew Lloyd Webber, Jeff Beck, Meatloaf, and Babe Ruth. And you're listening to Music Business Radio.
Why can't a bank offer you the kind of technology that actually helps your company's productivity? I'm not talking about a computer that takes the place of a banker, but technology that, maybe lets you deposit checks right from your own office. At Avenue Bank, they have it and they'll tell you all about it. It's safe and secure and it saves time. And isn't that what technology is supposed to do? Avenue Bank. The difference is real. Member FDIC.
I don't want to beg. I just want to bang on the drum all day. I'm gonna bang now.
Hi, everybody. This is Todd Rundgren, and you're listening to Music Business Radio.
From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper. With me today, J-Praize. He's an entrepreneur, producer, music industry consultant. He's got songs on 20 million units. One of them being 50 Cent's Wangsta. Before we get to that, I haven't heard all of 50 Cent's music, but I didn't hear any trumpets on it. So there was a transition there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that.
With the music with me, like I would try to leave music alone, but it would always come back to me. It's just amazing how it happened. Like when I think I was like 12 or 13, I put the trumpet down to chase girls in junior high school. So from there, I went to high school, of course, and hooked up with some buddies of mine, and we started a singing group. So I went back to music, started an R&B group, did that for a few years, went to college, left the group, put that down, got bored with college, and went to the military. Got hurt in the Air Force. After the Air Force, I was depressed. So what I did is I went and I started writing songs. So that kind of brought me out of my depression. And then I hooked up with some guys that had their own studio, professional studio. I caught the bug like it was, I said, listen, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. They were producing records. They were writing records. They were sending records out. And I was like, wow, this is really hot. So my partner, SK1, he was like, listen, man, if you want to produce, go buy yourself some equipment and produce. So that's what I did. I said, hey, that makes sense to me. I think it was like $2,500 or $3,000, went and got some equipment and started recording.
You had some kind of connections there. Started doing your own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about T Black.
T Black was a guy from Harlem, New York. Actually, SK1 introduced me to him because he wanted to buy some of my tracks.
Let me stop you right there. So this is like just a buyout? When you say buy, it's like a work for hire?
Right.
So you don't get royalties on it. You say, hey, I'm going to do this track. Give me $50,000 or whatever.
Well, no. What happened is he wanted to, I guess what we call lease the track. We say buy, but it's not really a buyout.
It's like a licensing thing.
Yeah,
so you
like
still get royalties if they use
exactly,
it.
If they used it. Exactly. I got the call when I was in New York visiting because I was still living in Virginia at the time. T Black was like, listen, man, when you come back down to Virginia, play me some more stuff. I want to hear some more of your stuff. So I came back down to Virginia, played him some more records, and he was like, wow, this is crazy, da-da-da. You know what? I want to shop some of your records. So I said, cool. So he said, listen, I'm going to New York. I know Jay-Z. I can get to Jay-Z. I can give him some of these records, some of these tracks. I said, cool, man. So he went to New York. He came back. I called him. I said, okay, so how did the meeting go? Did you speak to Jay-Z or what? He said, nah, I didn't see Jay-Z. So I said, okay, well, what'd you do with the music? He said, I gave it to 50 Cent. Like, you gave it to 50 Cent. He doesn't have a deal. He doesn't have a deal.
Yeah, at that time, he'd already had a deal and lost it.
Right. He had the deal, lost it. That's after he got shot and all that other stuff. So I was like, okay, I remembered, How to Rob, and that was a hot song. So I said, okay, well, what did 50 say? He said, well, he can't use it right now, but he'll see what happens. So then at this time, if you can remember back in the end of 2001, the economy was real messed up, from 9/11. So what I did, I had moved back to New York. I was doing pretty bad in Hampton, almost lost my house, almost lost my car, I had 3 and 4 odd jobs, but nothing was coming together. So I said, you know what, let me get the heck out of here. My brother said, listen, come back to New York. I'm going to pay up your mortgage. Don't worry about it. So, and that's what family is for. So I ran back to New York. As soon as I got there, though, I got a job as a supervisor at the biggest post office in the city on 34th Street. So I'm working at the post office, doing my thing. And this is like May 2002. And my buddy, SK1, calls me and is like, yo, 50 Cent is rapping on your track. I'm like, what? He's like, 50 Cent is rapping on your beat. I'm like, get the hell out of here. And he's like, yo, I'm serious, because this is how we joke around with each other. We like, oh, man, we call each other and prank each other. So
yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever. So he says, go get the DJ Clue mixtape. I'm going to show you how to do this. That's the name of the mixtape. I'm going to show you how to do this. So I was like, okay, cool. I went and got the mixtape. Track 13, it was my song. And I was like, oh, man, I can't believe this. That was like the biggest line. That was the first time I heard it.
So what was that like?
That was the biggest violation, man, like ever. Like you felt like someone came up to you and just took $20 out your pocket.
Okay, so it wasn't necessarily a great feeling.
Oh, no. Because at the end of the day, no one called me. There was no contracts. And 9 times out of 10, if a record goes on a mixtape, you can't use that record anymore. What happened to me and how it happened just doesn't happen.
Well, explain why you couldn't use a record that's off a mixtape.
Okay, well, let's say I'm a rapper and I rap on your beat and I put it out in the streets and it doesn't get hot. It doesn't get hot to the point where the record label says, okay, you know what? Let's push this record. You can't go and shop that record to no other rapper.
Because people have already heard it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I talked to my lawyer. He was like, listen, either one or two things are going to happen. They're going to want to use it and they're going to have to call you. Or you can just say, listen, I had a track with 50 Cent on DJ Clue mixtape. When I thought about it, I was like, wow, that's not good. But then at the end of the day, my lawyer was like, relax, calm down. But at the time as a producer, you don't think like, oh, this could be something big. You're like, man, these guys are. Yeah,
you have no idea because you'd been doing all sorts of tracks. And
exactly.
Probably had something similar, maybe not to that level.
Right.
David Hooper, Music Business Radio. J-Praize, he's an entrepreneur, producer, music industry consultant. We're talking about how he heard a song for the first time with 50 Cent. So what happened next? So it's on the mixtape.
It's on the mixtape.
No money's been exchanged, no contracts.
No money, no contracts, no phone calls, nothing. Not even an email, nothing.
And this is commonplace.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is just standard industry practice for the rap industry.
Well, it became standard because, people do it all the time. It happened to Kanye West, but the record was hot. They had to pay him. So then they did the video. Like it happens a lot. But most producers, the records don't get that hot. So it's just like, wow, I just wasted a beat. Or this guy just took my beat. Mm-hmm. But it went on Clue's mixtape. It went on K Slay's mixtape. And these are all DJs that I'm naming. Funkmaster Flex. It went up and down the East Coast.
And these are the top DJs. This isn't just the, chunky Mississippi club DJ.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's crazy because it was hot in New York first. And if you know, New York is really not a market that you really want to go and get your music played. But 50 Cent was from New York. He had history. Everyone knew his story. So that's why he had to break it in New York. And then it just started going to other markets and it just went crazy. It went like wildfire.
I want you to tell me first time you walked into a club and they're actually playing it in the club.
The first time I walked into a club and they played it, the response that I seen from the people on the dance floor was unlike anything I've seen in my life. Like people were literally losing their minds. And I was like, wow. They were literally going crazy. I was in Howard University, their homecoming, and they played it. Thousands of people were just, literally like losing their minds. I'm like, damn, are these people on E? And I think what it was because it was so new, it was something new, like something that you never heard before. But it wasn't just that. It was everywhere I went. And I was like, wow, let me just see what people are doing.
Well, it exploded. And it really, in my opinion, really put him on the map. just
Right.
for the mainstream America. I remember walking down the street and hearing it coming out of cars.
Right.
You know, you've reached a lot of people when that happens.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you this. I remember the few months after I initially brought this mixtape CD, I was walking down Queens Boulevard, a block away from where I used to live, and my wife, well, actually my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, it was two Puerto Rican brothers in a truck. They pulled up, and they were bumping Wankster, and she grabbed my arm, and I was like, oh, man, it's happening. So I talked to my lawyer. He said, okay, just relax, chill out. He said, let's see what's going to happen. And I swear to you, a month later, I get a call. My guy grew up with 50 Cent's manager. He said, listen, I gave 50 Cent's manager your number so they can get in touch with you. I said, cool. So I'm at the post office just working. I get another call, and it's like, is this J-Praize? Like, yeah, who's this? It's like, you know, this is 50 Cent, da-da-da-da-da. You know, we need you to come and lay the track down. And I was like, wow. Okay. They said because Dr. Dre needs to mix the beat. And I'm like, okay. Here I am. Been doing tracks for a couple of years, and you're telling me that Dr. Dre needs to mix my track. The producer's producer. And I'm just like, I know this is a dream. I know this is a dream. So we go to the studio. I meet 50 Cent. I meet the G Unit. Cool guy. 50 Cent is a cool guy. And I lay the track down, and 50 Cent is talking, and he's like talking to me for like 4 hours. Like, he can talk. Like, he can talk. And he's not a shy guy. He's cool. He invited me to a show. I mean, I was on stage with him, you know, while they were performing and stuff. I mean, it was a beautiful thing. Went, laid the track down. They sent me my check. You know, send me the paperwork.
That had to feel good.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. I mean, man, every time I see a check from that song, it's just like, wow. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine when you're coming up with a song like that. You don't know where it's going to go, and here it is, man. It's still paying off just for however many hours of work.
Exactly.
Maybe even minutes of work. I don't know how quick it comes to you.
You know what? I'm going to tell you this. What's crazy, and people, you may believe it, you may not believe it, but that was the first official track that I made after I brought my digital sampler. Because before I was just making beats on a chord keyboard. And, you know, those drum sounds are not real. They're like flimsy drum sounds. Mm-hmm. But once I got my Kai digital sampler, that was the first track that I made. I remember when I made it, it was 12 o'clock in the morning. It was just me in a bedroom with headphones just like this. And I was just beating on the keyboard. And I knew once I made it, I was like, you know what? There's something special about this. It's not a normal track. But then again, I'm not a normal person. I'm first to admit it. You know, I'm a little off myself. But being creative, I think all of us that are creative, you know, we're a little off. But it's a good thing. You know, we make the world go round.
Well, there's no better song to take us out of this segment than this song right here. Wanksta by 50 Cent. David Hooper, Music Business Radio. J-Praize, entrepreneur and producer, is my guest today. And this is his track. More from J-Praize when we come back on Music Business Radio.
Yeah. It's 50, a.k.a. Ferrari, F50. Break it down. I got a lot of living to do before I die, and I ain't got time to waste. Let's make it. Young, you said you a wankster, and you need to stop fronting. You ain't a friend of mine. You ain't no kin of mine. What makes you think that I won't run up on?
Why can't you have a banker instead of just a bank? I mean, if your banking relationship consists of pushing phone buttons when a computerized voice tells you to, is that really how you want to bank? On the other hand, if you knew your banker by name, and more importantly, your banker knew you by name, then you've got something. That's how it is at Avenue Bank, because that's how we think banking and life should be. Avenue Bank. The difference is real. Member FDIC.
What's that you say, Mrs. Robinson? Joe has left and gone away. Hey, 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 hey.
Hey, I'm John P. Strom. I'm a musician. I used to play in the Lemonheads and the Blake Babies. I'm currently a music business lawyer, and you're listening to Music Business Radio.
Music Business Radio is on the air. David Hooper here. J-Praize, entrepreneur, producer, and songwriter. 20 million copies sold. Had this big hit with 50 Cent. That's what we were just talking about. But these days, you're kind of, as we say, on the other side of the glass. You're actually looking for new talent yourself. And I want to know how you find out about people.
Well, you know, it's funny. I could just be doing something and somebody will call me and be like, hey, I have this rapper. Hey, I have this singer. Hey, I have this writer. So people just know, like, if you're in the industry, if you had any amount of success, like everyone knows you in the industry. People that you meet, you know, I live in Atlanta now. So it's like everybody raps or everybody sings or everybody's a producer in Atlanta. Or at least that's what it seems like. So it's just like whenever I tell somebody what I do and what I've done, I don't care if it's a hairdresser. Yeah. She's like, oh, I know such and such that sings. Or my son does this, my son. And that's how it happens usually.
You got a guy, Universal Motown, signed him, Russ P. Talk about how you found out about him.
When I left New York and moved to Atlanta, I was talking to my brother, and he was saying that his friend that grew up on the same block that we grew up on was down in Atlanta. So I said, okay, give me his number. So he gave me his number. Come to find out, the guy lived right around the corner from me. Like, literally, right around the corner from me. So at that time, I met some of his other guys that he had signed. He had, it was Young Jock, Russ P, and a few other producers. So Russ P and I, we just built that relationship. He was signed under another company at the time. My brother's friend, like, he lost the love for music. He didn't want to do it anymore. He was like, this is not for me. And he just lost interest. He said, listen, if you want any of these guys, you know, I can sign them over to you. I said, you know what? Let me just take Russ P. He said, you don't want the rest of them? I said, nah, let me just get him.
What was it about Russ P that really got your attention?
I've been down in the South for a while, from the Air Force, you know, living in Virginia and then coming down to Atlanta. You had a few guys that I was impressed with, but I mean, just his flow, his swagger. I seen potential, and I said, you know, I can do something with this guy.
What about his work ethic? How important was that?
Oh, it was very important. I mean, at the end of the day, I would go to the studio, and it would just be him and the engineer. The producer left, and he was there by himself with a track, and he would try to flow on it and rap on it and this and that, and wasn't really getting it. But I said, you know what? I got something to do, but let me stick around. So I stuck around, and I worked with him. And then I think that's when it was solidified. It was like, okay, you know what? I can work with him. And then that's when my buddy was like, listen, take this. I don't want to have anything else to do with it. I said, no, just give me Russ P.
Let's give everybody a taste of Russ P. I'm going to let you intro this.
Okay.
And just give me the story behind the cut.
The name of this track is called Show Off. We did this, I believe, during the BET Awards. He went in the studio, and we were just vibing, basically, and he came out with this record, and it was just, like, to me, unbelievable. I was like, wow, this is crazy. We have to push this in the streets. So this is what it is, Show Off, Russ P.
Russ P on Music Business Radio.
Yeah. I'm flashing like a strobe light. I gotta shine even if there is no light. I ball hard even when I hear the whistle blowing. The ladies kiss me, who the hell done brought the mistletoe? I hit the church and get the finest Christian women going. Stay on her mind and her head like a silky sewing. I'm showing off, it's a shame and I ain't no hold on. Stop, I see him trying to fly. I be catching money in one hand like a mall. Take the mall, just the ball. So man, I'm showing off. Show off. So man, I'm showing off. Show off. So man, I'm showing off. Show off.
Russ P on Music Business Radio. The track Show Off. Russ is signed to The Cross Entertainment. The boss of The Cross, J-Praize, who's an entrepreneur, producer, and songwriter, is here with me today. He's on 20 million albums. And I want to know about when you come up with this kind of music, what is the process? Do you start with a track? Do you start with the rap?
Well, you know, it varies, really. Sometimes you can start with a track. Like, sometimes I'll create a track and then give it to the artist. But then a lot of times what happens is the artist will come in the studio and you'll just vibe. You know, you'll lay down a drum pattern. After that, then you start adding things in, and the artist's like, yeah, I like that. But then you can come in, like I said, I mean, it's like you can have something, just give it to the artist, or you can let the artist come in, just play him like 20, 30 tracks, and she'll pick from there. So it's kind of different. Or they might have, it's rare, but they might have a vocal track and want you to produce around it. It's a lot of different ways. And even with my artists, like, I'm not the type of label head that says, okay, well, you know what, I need to produce every track on my artist. Like that track Show Off, another guy produced that. A few other tracks you're going to hear like other people produce. Like my thing is like I have what I have. So I don't have to produce every single track because I'm going to be executive producer. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like I have to get every beat on my artist. I like to look for the up and coming producers because at the end of the day, you know, when I was in my bedroom and making my beats, someone looked out for me. So it's like that's what I look at. As long as the track is hot, I don't care where it comes from. As long as we get the hit, it doesn't matter where it comes from.
Perfect segue, where it comes from, because how 50 got your stuff, he was using it without permission.
Right.
It sounds like you were very concerned about like upcoming talent and making sure everybody's paid and that kind of stuff.
Right.
How do you go about that with using samples and getting new tracks maybe that come in through the mail?
Well, you know what? Myself as a producer, I don't sample. I mean, if you hear 100 of my tracks, you may hear one sample. And it's not taking anything away from anybody who does sample. That's just not something that I do. But at the end of the day, it's like what you said. When you sample someone else's work, you got to pay for that, you know. And a lot of time, record labels are kind of wary, you know, because that prolongs the process. You have to get a signature from this person. You got to get a signature from the producer, the songwriter, and the publisher. Everyone has to sign off on that record.
And it can also kill the money that you make. And there's plenty of stories of that. I mean, the famous Whistle While You Twerk. Remember that song, Ying Yang Twins? They didn't make a dime off of that.
It happens.
Because they didn't clear it first. The people were, I guess, offended by the content.
Exactly.
And there you go.
And it happens more than people know.
All right, you mentioned when you started 2001 actually producing these tracks, it cost you about $2,500 to get into the game. What would it cost somebody now? What would you recommend they have? What is it that you use?
It's all based on personal preference. What I would say is get a Mac. I don't care if it's a MacBook Pro or desktop, get a Mac. I'm not really fond of producing on PCs. As far as software, I use Logic. I use Logic and I use Pro Tools. I use anything Akai makes. The MPC 4000, 3000, 2000, the S2000. I have all those. I have whatever Korg makes. Korg Karma, the N364.
Are these like keyboard samplers, controllers?
Yeah, these are keyboards, samplers, Akai samplers. A lot of the Akai samplers that I mentioned, they don't make them anymore, so you have to go on eBay or what have you and purchase them.
Well, some of those, like an 808 drum machine, for example, if they're not making it anymore, then the value goes up. So it actually might be a great investment if it takes off.
Exactly. It's like, I mean, I have a lot of outboard gear too, but Roland, I'm a fan of Roland, the V-Synth, Omega 8, you would have to Google that. I mean,
okay, so let me stop you right there. So you just listed about $1 billion worth of equipment. Someone's brand new, they're on a budget, so they need to get like a MacBook, so maybe $1,000 for the MacBook.
Let me backtrack a little. If you're on a budget, let's say you have $3,000, the best thing you could do is go on eBay, go on Craigslist. If you're on eBay, look for someone with 100% feedback and get a keyboard under $800. 61 keys. It doesn't matter if it's Korg, Roland, whatever. As long as it has sounds already in it. Get that. Get some speakers, monitors. I have Tenor Reveals. Those are one of my favorites for like $300 off of eBay. And go and get something to record it on, like a Roland 880 or 840. They still make those things. I think Roland bought Boss or something like that. So go get a Boss. I think it's like a CD900 or something like that. CD900 or CD1200 or one of those things, and work it from that angle, you know, entry level angle.
So $3,000 you can do a lot.
Yeah.
And we've already heard the story of Wanksta. That wasn't done on $1 billion studio.
Oh, no. And I think that's what it is. It's like once you start seeing the money and you start buying this and buying that, a lot of times it kind of kills creativity, or it kind of stifles your creativity a little bit, because it's like, okay, well, what do I use?
You can use all 48 tracks.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, that's why even right now, when I do tracks, it's like I'm going back to the basics. If the record labels did the same thing, the industry wouldn't be in the situation that it's in right now.
Well, back to the basics is exactly where we're going to go in the next section. We've got something called Dave's Demo Derby. This is from bands, musicians, rappers maybe, from around the world. Send us demos. We don't know what we're going to get. We got a box right next to you. We're going to reach into it, pull out a CD, play it, and I'm going to get your critique of it.
Okay.
Dave's Demo Derby with J-Praize is next on Music Business Radio.
This is Dan Reed from WXPN in Philadelphia. I am a Music Business Radio podcast groupie. I listen to it every week, and so should you.
You're listening to Music Business Radio on the web at musicbusinessradio.com.
Why can't a bank's website be more about its customers? After all, a website should be there to help you, not the other way around. Like Avenue Bank's website, It's easy to navigate and use. With Avenue Bank's online banking, you can view all your financial accounts, including those you might have at another financial institution, with just a single login. Visit thedifferencesreal.com and see for yourself. Avenue Bank. Member FDIC.
Everything's gonna be alright. Rockabye, rockabye.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Mullins. The most important thing I've learned since being in the music business is sticking to your guns and doing what you love to do. And you're listening to Music Business Radio.
From Nashville, Tennessee, it's Music Business Radio. I'm your host, David Hooper, and now it's time for that part of the show we call Dave's Demo Derby. J-Praize from The Cross Entertainment is my guest today. He's an entrepreneur, producer, and music industry consultant. His songs have been on over 20 million records. In between us, we have a big box of demos from around the world. We're going to reach into that box, pick up a demo, play it, then critique it. We're going to do something a little bit different, though. We were talking off air. J-Praize, you have a laptop that you brought with you.
Yeah.
It's got about 2,500 demos on it.
Not that many, but a lot.
I mean, people are finding you out. They're sending you stuff. And I said, why don't we do something a little bit different? Let's break into your laptop here and see a day in the life of J-Praize.
Cool.
So we got 3 acts we pulled off of here. First one is Duchess. We don't know anything about Duchess. Was there an email in there? Or?
Yeah, but I didn't read it.
Is it all about the music when you get something like this?
Yeah, it's all about the music. I don't want to hear how hot you are, anything. Listen, let your music speak for you instead of you speaking for your music.
Well, that is what we're going to do here. Duchess on Music Business Radio Demo Derby.
Oh, girl, he cute.
Hey, what's happening, little shawty?
What's happening?
What's going on with you? And what you drinking on, little mama?
Patron.
Maybe I can buy you a little something.
All right, check them pockets. What's up with that cat? What's up with that cat? Like that, fixing like you really gave it to me. You see, and it's wet, your acting dead. Your body saying no, but your mouth saying yes. What's up with that cat? What's up with that cat? Like that, fixing like you really gave it to me. You know I like that freak guy. You know that I'm so freak guy. Too bad your ass is broke, so you won't get a chance to freak it. You see me everywhere, quarter piece, not a dime. You like the way that step it, and you see I'm fine. Boy, stop lying like you packing. You know I know you slacking. No, we ain't. It's lines always happen.
Duchess on Music Business Radio Demo Derby. Something that we have a lot on the shows, we get a lot of songs with long intros. And this is sort of interesting because there was like a conversation going on. I guess a woman saw a guy in a club or a guy saw a woman in a club. And is that good or bad?
I mean, it's cool, like a sort of a skit type of thing, as long as it's not too long. Anything 30 seconds or longer, it's like, come on, let's get to the point. So it could be a good thing long as the skit is done well.
It kind of set up the song. It's like an annoyed woman. This is what women are really thinking in the club.
Right.
So all you men out there, think about this next time you think you're real cool. That's what they're thinking, whatever Duchess is. So when Duchess sent you this, you said you didn't read the email, but just in general, are people wanting to be an artist on your label? Or are they wanting to get tracks to you to be a producer? What do they want?
Over these last few years since I've been doing this, everyone wants a record deal. Like, oh man, listen, I heard you're a producer. I need a record deal. Like, well, hell, I need $1 million. I mean, but it's like they send you records and like, okay, I'm hot, and they think that's it. But just being able to rap good or sing good, that's just half the battle. That's not even half the battle.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is. Most people want a record deal, but they don't know anything about the record industry. They say, oh, well, I'm better than such and such. That's out now. But you don't know what that person went through.
Well, they may be better at the music, and there's a lot more to this than just the music.
Exactly. It's like 10% music, 90% business. That's what people don't understand. Instead of calling it the music business, it should be called the business of music. It's crazy out there.
I guess we're going to reach into our demo bag for the next one. This is from your hometown, New York City, New York.
Okay.
The artist is Charetta, and the song Too Far In.
And
Charretta on Music Business Radio Demo Derby. She's out of New York City, New York. And the website, myspace.com/Charretta Music. J-Praize, what do you think about it?
I think it's pretty cool. I listen to all types of music, you know. I just really don't listen to the heavy metal, like kill your mother, rape your father type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that was cool. She has a nice voice.
What do you think about the promo package? You got that there. Saw from across the room, there's a photo.
Yeah.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking group.
I thought it was a woman's name, but it's actually a band. 4-piece, out of New York, and myspace.com/Charretta Music. All right, let's go back to your laptop. Got a guy named Mr. 100. We don't know if it's 100%, 100 inches, 100 feet maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know. Mr. 100 on Music Business Radio Demo Derby.
What you bees about? Yeah. What you bees about? Next. What you bees about? Boy, not a damn thing. What I bees about? Money. What I bees about? Wow. It's what I bees about. It's what I bees about. I be about that check. I be about that work. When I hop in the coupe, I be about that perk. Catch me blowing while I'm going down that boulevard. Host in the PIMP and I'm pulling hard. Riding 100 green 72 old school. The hood love 100, 100 so cool. Catch me in that polo, maybe Sean John. Religious with the money like I'm Bishop Dunn one. Call me light pole the way I'm posted on the block. Or like Wachovia, cause I'm loaded with the guap. Ice so clear, look like I slept with an Eskimo. I spit more, yeah, in a pump at Texaco. 3 or 4 times a month, your boy hit that Mexico. Gotta get that chicken, can't forget about them vegetables. What you these about? Yeah. What you these about? Flex. What you these about? Boy, not a damn thing. What I these about? Money. What I these about? Is what I these about. Is what I these about.
Mr. 100 on Music Business Radio Demo Derby. J-Praize, how about that?
You know what? That sounds like classic Atlanta. I can hear that in a club right now in Atlanta. Like, that's what they would play in a club right now.
So you're saying this guy has potential?
Sure.
Let me ask you about this. You know, I think lyrically he had some interesting things to say. He said he's religious with money like Bishop Don Juan. I never would have even thought of going there. Another thing lyrically that I thought was interesting, he talked about trends. He's thrown out brand names of clothes and things. You hear that a lot in hip-hop music and rap music. There's one hit now, and they're talking about last year. And I've always thought, wait, don't you guys know it's going to take a while for this thing to come out? Can you talk about that a little bit? Because what happens if he's mentioning, like, you know, members-only jackets? And is that thing going to have staying power?
If it's 1 or 2 words, it's probably not a big deal. But if that's what the hook is about, then probably not. What I tell my artists and people that I deal with, people that I consult, is like, listen, make timeless records. It doesn't matter if it's played today or 10 years from today. It'll still be relevant. You don't want to put a brand out there, at least in the hook, or constantly talking about a brand in any type of record, I don't believe, because at the end of the day, it might take you a year or 2 years for that record to pop, if it does pop.
Unless you're getting paid for it, though. Did you see McDonald's was paying people to put Big Macs in the record?
Oh, yeah. Actually, some liquor companies also were paying rappers.
Product placement.
Yeah, product placement. I mean, it's big now, you know.
What rhymes with Cavassier? I'll think of something for $5,000, $10,000. All right, we got another one from our demo sack here. Misha Williams, the song Take It Like It. I actually met Misha at a local music business conference. She's from Houston, Texas, but she's out here doing things. She was up here in Nashville. Misha Williams, Take It Like It on Music Business Radio.
Figure out where I belong. Don't wanna
Misha Williams on Music Business Radio Demo Derby. The song Take It Like It. She's out of Houston, Texas. And if you like Misha, she is at MishaWilliams.com. What do you think about it, J-Praize?
Well, I'm a little biased because I just love anything coming out of Texas. I mean, I think Texas have some of the most talented people. I have an R&B artist that's out of Dallas, Texas. But what can I say? I don't remember the last time I heard something that was trash come out of Texas. I mean, I'm sure they probably have some trashy stuff out there, but I don't remember the last time I heard anything trashy coming from Texas. But Misha is hot.
It's also worth mentioning she's quite young, too. So this is somebody who's just, hit the ground running. If you like that, it's at MishaWilliams.com. I thought it was a good job on the production and everything. It wasn't too overproduced. It wasn't underproduced.
Right.
It was a good balance, and you can tell where she's going to go with that because it's tough to do with pop music sometimes. When you're competing against Britney, Christina.
Exactly.
It's
exactly
tough competition. Well, we got another one here on your laptop. And, this is kind of interesting to me, just the music we've been getting in the demo bucket and the music that you're getting. Obviously, two different styles, but it's also coming in two different formats. Now, one of it, obviously, because we're looking at your laptop, and of course it has to be MP3s or something, right?
Right.
But are you getting physical demos more so than MP3s these days?
No way. MP3s are like king right now. Even when I talk to a person, they're like, well, how can I send you a CD? I'm like, send me a CD. Where are you living in the 80s? Man, rip it off, rip the song off, attach it in the email, and send it to me.
Yeah. I was asking you about like brand recognition and how like the speed of hip hop is really, really quite fast. Mm-hmm. Has that affected sales? Are more people buying MP3s now than physical CDs?
I think so. I think more people are definitely buying MP3s. They're going to iTunes and all these other different sites, downloading music and things of that nature. The record label look at it as a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. The major record labels, they don't have forward-thinking people. How do you, as a record label, a major record label in the world, like Universal, Sony, let a company called Apple that makes computers come up with something called an iPod? Like, are you for real? Like, are you serious?
Yeah, right.
And then you want to complain about people downloading music on the internet and the internet is destroying the music.
Well, what's embarrassing is when they took control of Napster and they kind of won that battle,
Mm-hmm.
they had an opportunity and they missed it.
Yeah.
The first artist that we played, Duchess, actually was kind of forward-thinking and sent us a radio edit.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is. And do you ever find that there's something that is just so completely vulgar or maybe even tasteless that there's no way you can sell it?
Doesn't matter how vulgar something is, somebody will buy it. I think there's somebody that will buy anything. There's somebody out there that will buy something. I'm not saying it's going to go platinum or gold or wood, but somebody out there, they will buy anything, because it's like at the end of the day, you have artists out there or people trying to be entertaining artists that don't think about the lyrics that they're putting down. I may offend someone. They don't care. I mean, I don't tell my artists, I don't censor my artists, but at the same time, they know me. They know that, listen, certain things are just not going to come out. You're not going to be sitting here disrespecting women, disrespecting other people. That's just not going to happen. You can say what you want, but at the end of the day, it's a way to say things.
Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is, you're in this business because you want your music out there. And if you start offending people, they're not going to listen to it. They're not going to buy it. You're not going to be able to get it out there.
And they're going to think you're retarded because it's like, what the hell is this guy saying? It's like...
Well, it isolates people.
Yeah.
We took a couple demos off the J-Praize MacBook Pro laptop. And I know everybody with something like this is probably wondering, how do I get there? How do I get on that laptop? So let's give out your contact information and let everybody, fill up your email box a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, you can send MP3s in MP3 format. Please, no Windows Media. MP3s. You can download it on iTunes. It's a free download. And send it to J-Praize, J-Praize, MP3 at gmail.com. Again, that's J-Praize, MP3 at gmail.com. J-Praize, MP3 at gmail.com.
J-Praize, our time is up. Well, almost. Because I want to ask you, is there something that I didn't ask you that I should have?
I guess where music is going. It's going to hell.
Well, obviously.
No, but I think right now music is suffering because of a few different things. Number one, the major labels, A lot of them got rid of their artist development department like years ago. And I think once that happened, it was like, okay, how are you going to take someone off the street and just throw them out there and expect them to perform at levels where you had artists that were already developed, like Run DMC, LL? It doesn't make any sense. You know, you're trying to cut your bottom line, but you're really cutting your legs off. But I think at the end of the day, like, people have to go back to the basics. Like I was saying before, you have to go back to the basics. You can be a builder and then go off and try to do surgery. Okay, it might not work. So what you need to do, if you're doing something that doesn't work, what is it that you did in the first place to get where you are? And I think that's what the major labels have to do, take it back to a fundamental point. They have to get their artist development department back. You have to have A&Rs in these record companies that know music, that are serious about music. Because I'm sure you've seen, Dave, like these people, you go to the record label and what are they doing? They're on their Blackberries or they're on the computers IMing people or playing games. It's like, dude, are you serious?
Or they put the bottom line and that instant hit so far up on the scale.
Right.
Because you mentioned like LL Cool J and Run DMC was the same way. They didn't really hit until the second or third album.
Exactly.
And look at the careers that they've had.
Exactly.
I mean, Run DMC, the last album with Jam Master Jay, I think was probably 20 years after the first one. LL Cool J is still doing real well.
See, but even to piggyback on what you just said, it's like record labels are not giving the artists 2 and 3 shots. Now it's like you get 1 shot. If you don't make it in that 1 shot, sorry, we're dropping you. You know, and I just think it's a shame. It's like, you know, you're playing with people's lives, you know, and it's like you're trying to force these artists, make a record like this, make a record like that. That's not how creativity goes.
Well, it's not only playing with people's lives, but I think in the end we all lose because it doesn't give a chance for us to experience great music from a developed artist.
Exactly.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
You've already given out the email address for people to send you demos, which is great. But some people don't have a demo. They want to get in touch with you another way. You've got this new magazine out. We haven't even talked about that, so we've got to have you back. But the new magazine is the Music Shelf magazine. And you can go to themusicshelf.com and check us out and hit the contact, and it links you right to my email. There you have it. Thanks to everybody for listening. Jay, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for sending demos in for the Demo Derby. If you want more information on us, you want to hear old shows, listen to the show again, musicbusinessradio.com, and I'll see you next week when I'll interview another industry guest.
Thank you for listening to Music Business Radio. Music Business Radio is a production of Lightning 100 Tuned In Broadcasting Incorporated, Nashville, Tennessee. Produced by Gary Crane, Dan Buckley, and David Hooper. Pro Tools post-production by Justin Hamill. Production coordination by Jesse Smith. And Lester held the umbrella. Pro audio support provided today by DigiDesign with exclusive in-studio guitars courtesy of Waterstone Musical Instruments. For more information about Music Business Radio, visit musicbusinessradio.com. We are Music Business Radio, broadcasting from WRLT Studios at Marathon Village, Nashville, Tennessee.
Music Business Radio.
You've been listening to Music Business Radio, brought to you by Avenue Bank, dedicated to serving the music business industry. Find out more at thedifferencesreal.com.